On the phone talking about the impact of technology on your career, it's Dr. Tracy Wilen. She's been an executive at Apple, Hewlett-Packard, Cisco, and the Apollo Group. Very qualified woman. And as if that wasn't enough, which it very much is, she's also the author of 11 books. Her newest is called Employed for Life, 21st Century Career Trends, available right now on Amazon. Tracy, how are you?
Oh, good morning to you. Thank you. I'm for doing fine.
You talk about the career selfie in your new book. What exactly is that?
Well, I saw a statistic about a week and a half ago that Google published that people are taking 93 million selfies per day.
Not each of us.
If we can spend that much time focusing on taking photos of ourselves, I thought, well, we should probably spend that much time focusing on our careers.
So taking a career selfie is, instead of taking a look at like your own face on Instagram or whatever, it's taking a look at your surrounding situations as far as your career is concerned.
That's right. And a lot of people have asked me, why I see people getting promoted who are younger than me or newer than me. Did I miss something? And I said, well, yeah, you might be taking too much time with your technology and taking the photos of yourself. Let's look at some of the trends that are happening around you.
Now, there's an old saying, happy wife, happy life, and I think this translates into the workplace by, if you make your boss look good, you look good. But in your new book, you're saying this is old information. We need to move on. You need to focus on a strong personal brand.
That's right. Many of us were groomed to make our managers look good to their boss, and we got rewarded for that. But today, it's all about having a strong personal brand. I'll give you a quick example. When you walk into a hotel, the first person that you meet is not the general manager. It's the concierge, the bellboy, the front desk. Your impression of them sets the tone and your impression of the organization. And companies are realizing the employees are the face of the brand.
Now, you talk also about, you say the firm is not your family, it's your team. And I think in this day and age, and I read an article a couple of weeks ago that said, was talking about millennials specifically, saying they're absolute backstabbers.
So, you have to look at working for a firm as a two-way exchange now. You're working there, and in exchange you're getting a salary, you might be getting health benefits, you might be getting training, you may be getting a number of things, and you're contributing to the firm, and it's a two-way street. The dialogue is not about how do you take care of me. The dialogue more of is I'm making a contribution, and we have an exchange today. How can you help me get ahead? What are the opportunities that you can see here? And, let's face it, people are not spending their entire lives at one firm anymore, and they need to be cognizant that they need to continually think about their next steps.
Now, you also talk about being a marketable employee. How can people do that? How in 2014 is marketing yourself different from, let's say somebody's working at a company right now, he or she's been there, for 15 or 20 years. The marketing's changed over that time. How is it different today?
So here's how I explain it. If you got into an elevator and the CEO of your company got in the same floor with you, and you have 5 floors to ride together, and she looks at you and says, "Tell me what you do for the firm. Do you have an elevator pitch? Can you explain to her concretely what you do?" Because the second question might be, and where would you like to be in a year or two at this firm? Because in the back of her mind, she may have an opportunity. So I encourage people to be able to answer those questions. What do you do? What are your contributions to the firm? And number 2 is, where would you like to see yourself in a year, 6 months, 2 years, so that you can place the idea in your executives' heads that there's an opportunity, where can I fit you into an opportunity?
Now, you talk about an elevator pitch at your own company. How can people use that same formula of how can you succinctly tell somebody what it is you do? How can you use that to maybe get a new job, or if you're in an interview, to sell yourself?
Yes, I think it is very important that you develop sound bites about yourself, your credentials, your careers, and your experience. And I encourage people to do it in quantifiable terms. So if you're in sales, for example, you explain that I'm a manager of sales and I increased sales from my firm this past year by 20%. Here's how. So it's really creating those concrete log lines, what they say in the Hollywood firms, that you can create log lines about yourself of how you can pitch yourself to another firm.
So anytime you're writing, even if it's a resume, let's say this is on paper as opposed to, a verbal exchange, anytime you have a general statement, to back that up with facts and figures and to make it something real.
I encourage people to keep metrics on themselves. Every single day when you go to work, or if you're doing a contribution to an organization, write down one thing that you did that day in quantifiable terms, whether it's saving time, increasing sales, saving money, reducing assets or cost, inequities. write it down so that you can always have talking points at your hand.
Well, I want to talk about LinkedIn specifically here for a moment. I think what a lot of people do is they hear about LinkedIn, they set up a profile, and then it just kind of remains dormant for a while. How can they be active LinkedIn users?
Well, I think people need to understand that LinkedIn is an excellent tool for job hunting. One, to find jobs, 2, to connect with people who have jobs, and 3, to be found. But once you position your profile, which is different than a resume, it needs to be shorter and more to the point, the elevator pitch, so to speak, then you can join groups, you can reach out to contacts, and really use the network. It's really a digital Rolodex. If people remember what a Rolodex is, it's your contact database. And through friends and connections, you can get introduced to other people. You can also follow firms, and firms will post openings or information that they think is important, and that can help you find people who you want to work for or firms that you want to affiliate with. So you have to keep it active. Other people do publish regularly tips and pointers so that they can bubble up in the searches and be more visible to hiring managers and recruiters.
When you mentioned just a moment ago friends and family, and I want to move on for a second from social media and LinkedIn, the old saying, of course, is it's not what you know, it's who you know. What would be an unorthodox kind of way of marketing yourself, whether it's, relying on friends, relying on family? And I guess to further that point, what's one of the most unorthodox marketing tools or marketing attempts that you've ever seen?
Well, I hear about college kids, and college kids always have a difficult time when they're graduating to find jobs, and so they do more guerrilla marketing, antics. And many of them go on YouTube to advertise themselves. Cold calling. I just think that people forget that cold calling is highly effective at picking up the phone. And I've seen college kids team up with their parents, cold calling and walking around to different companies to say, hey, I'm here. So I actually think some of the more controversial methods are the old methods, picking up the phone, knocking on the door, or just showing up at someone's office and saying, I'm employable and here's why.
How do you, when you're applying for a job or if you're trying to move up within your own company, how do you go beyond the brick wall? I mean, we've all applied for jobs and it's that same template that you have to fill out over and over again, that you're just kind of anonymously sending out your resume into the ether, your cover letter, your application. How can we go beyond the brick wall and talk to actual decision makers, hiring managers?
I'll give you a couple of tips on that. I know a number of people who only actually send out 2 or 3 resumes and always get job offers. And so I asked them, what's the secret sauce? They said, you have absolutely got to read the job opening and don't spam your resume, but rather read the opening and match word for word, and add value to what they're looking for. If you're not a direct match, don't even bother. So the idea is that you research 95% of your time and only send out 2 to 3 resumes when you see a direct fit. And I think that's very good advice for people who are just thinking it's productive to send out a lot of resumes. Recruiters will always tell you, cold call the manager you want to work for and be prepared because they may answer the phone. And I think people shy away from that and try to hide behind technology of sending out resumes and spamming. And at the end of the day, if there is a job that you want, there's an opening, find out who the hiring manager is, not HR, and go right to that person and get a hold of them and talk to them. Go after jobs that are perfect fits for what you can do and what you've accomplished, and you'll be more likely to get selected.
Tracy Wilen, how can people get more of you?
My website is tracywilen.com, TracyWilen.com. My Twitter is @TracyWilen. My Facebook is Dr. Tracy Wilen. And, of course, I'm on Pinterest and an open network or on LinkedIn.
And your new book, Employed for Life, 21st Century Career Trends, is in stores now.
Yes, it is on Amazon.com.